Whilst the setback roof element of the proposal would extend further and higher in this view than the existing situation, it is noted that the massing steps down to address the listed Spitalfields market, ensuring the principal parapet height onto Brushfield Street and Commercial Street would be maintained. The loss of the existing bank building in this view is regrettable. However, officers are of the view that the replacement building is of high design quality and would provide a rhythm of fenestration that would respond well to the surrounding townscape. In other respects, it is also noted that the careful choice of colour, scale, texture and material palette of the new building would maintain the essence of the bank's primary townscape attributes. Having considered the proposed response, officers are of the opinion that, in this view, the proposal would not harm the Brick Lane and Fournier Street conservation area, the setting of Spitalfields Market, or the setting of Christchurch Spitalfields. This is the existing view south along Commercial Street. Spitalfields Market features in the fore and middle ground on the right, and the bank is visible along with the eastern flank of the Exchange building, and the multi-storey car park is visible just in the background. In this view, the proposal would alter the setting of Spitalfields Market through the removal of the existing bank building and a setback two-storey element on the London Fruit and Wool Exchange. The removal of the multi-storey car park and the proposed tree planting would represent minor background improvements in this view. The loss of the bank building in this view is regrettable. However, as discussed in the previous view that we saw from Christchurch, the careful choice of colour, scale, texture and material palette of the new building would maintain the essence of the bank's primary townscape attributes. Officers are of the opinion that in this view the proposal would not harm the Brick Lane and Fournier Street conservation area or the setting of Spitalfields Market or Christchurch Spitalfield. In this view, from within the entrance to Spitalfields Market, looking at the Brushfield Street facade of the London Fruit and Wool Exchange, you will note that the modern roof extension is clearly visible above the fourth floor, resulting in a slightly confused building silhouette and detracting from the prominence of the white stone centrepiece. Here is the proposal, which would restore the centrepiece to its original prominence and would provide a sympathetic treatment to the setback upper floors that would represent a marked improvement over the existing situation. Officers are of the opinion that in this view the proposal would enhance the Brick Lane and Fournier Street.
Sorry, can you go back to the last one? Sorry.
Yeah, of course. So that's as existing.
Which is the centrepiece that's been...
Well, we're looking at the sort of white Portland stone element in the middle.
Yeah.
And if I flip over to the proposal, you should be able to make out a slightly increased height of that Portland stone element in a sort of arch shape.
Oh, got you.
Which is...
You mean the thing over the top?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's a restoration of an original feature on the building which was removed following the modern additions on the roof extension. We're of the opinion that in this view the proposal would enhance the Brick Lane and Fournier Street conservation area and the setting of Spitalfields Market. This is the existing view looking south down Crispin Street at the junction with Brushfield Street. In the foreground, on the right, is the Grade 2 listed 52 Brushfield Street. The Gun Public House features in the foreground in the left of this view, along with the western flank of the London Fruit and Wool Exchange. The tall building visible in the background to this view is the Nido Student Tower at Frying Pan Alley. Here the proposal would alter the immediate setting of 52 Brushfield Street by removing the existing pub and to a lesser extent through the setback two-storey element on the Exchange building. Given the contribution of the pub building in townscape terms, its loss in this view is regrettable. Nevertheless, it is noted that the replacement building would be of high design quality, would offer improved proportions and provides a rhythm of fenestration that would respond well to the surrounding townscape. The chamfered corner and white stone detailing are also important elements of the building that would recall something of the essence of the existing pub in townscape terms, whilst allowing for the benefits of a comprehensive design solution. Officers are of the opinion that in this view the proposal would not harm the Brick Lane and Fournier Street conservation area or the setting of 52 Brushfield Street. Just take a sip. We have now reviewed the impact of the proposal on key local views and the neighbouring heritage assets. We have noted that the development would result in a number of benefits to the character of the conservation area, and the settings of a number of neighbouring heritage assets. Whilst it is acknowledged that the proposal would result in changes to the Brick Lane and Fournier Street conservation area and to the settings of various neighbouring heritage assets, we, as officers, are of the view that these changes would not result in harm. Looking at the impacts of the proposed development response collectively, officers are of the view that the development would preserve the character of the conservation area and would not impact adversely on the setting of other neighbouring heritage assets. The Mayor is nevertheless advised that the applicant's own self-assessment identifies that the impact of the loss of undesignated heritage assets, those are the pub, the bank and the London Fruit and Wool Exchange, on the significance of the designated heritage assets, that's the conservation areas and other surrounded listed and locally listed buildings, is considered to be less than substantial harm. The applicant's assessment finds, however, that the substantial public benefits of the scheme, which we discussed earlier in this presentation, would outweigh this harm. So now we'll consider the design response. We saw earlier how the proposal would create a single block, removing the private service road which runs along the route of the historic former highway, but creating a new public north-south connection that would respond to an identifiable pedestrian desire line. With respect to the loss of the service road, it should be noted that it is not a publicly accessible route. It is poor in terms of quality and security and provides no benefit in terms of permeability. Furthermore, the service road, or the former highway which it replaced, is not identified as being of significance within the Council's conservation area appraisal. Whilst this is noted that Tower Hamlets Council cited the elimination of divisions between buildings within its reasons for refusal, as discussed in the hearing report, we as officers are willing to accept the loss of the private service road, particularly given the proposed improvements to north-south permeability. In terms of the building itself, the visualisations we have seen this evening are a product of a constructive response to the consultation process. The architect has responded to the Mayor's earlier comments on the scheme by submitting revised plans which promote a more distinct treatment for the key corner plots along Brushfield Street and introduce additional white stone detailing. As we've discussed, the rhythm of fenestration in these key areas has been revised to more closely reflect that of the existing pub and bank corner buildings, and the chamfered corners have been refined to provide a more solid appearance. The development would retain the important Brushfield Street facade of the London Fruit and Wool Exchange and takes its cues for the contemporary treatment of the rest of the building from this key elevation. The proposal would also improve the response to Commercial Street, which is another prominent face of the development, by removing the multi-storey car park and providing a building that would appear as three distinct components of massing, helping to define the adjoining public realm. In conclusion, therefore, officers are of the opinion that the design of the proposal is well resolved and responds positively to the challenges of the site and its context. Now, we'll cover the other issues, which, just to note that there were other issues that the report covers on employment and retail, inclusive access, sustainable development, environmental issues, including neighbourhood amenity and transport. These are addressed at length within the relevant sections of the hearing report, and there are no outstanding issues relating to these elements. I'll now just summarise the Section 106 heads of terms. For your reference, they're detailed in the hearing report, but in terms of a summary here, there's the required Crossrail payment of just over £2 million, £1.2 million towards local training and employment initiatives, which include support for the establishment of an on-site employment and skills centre, £1 million towards the delivery of additional affordable housing within the vicinity of the site, just over £450,000 for local community and leisure facilities, just over £400,000 for local heritage initiatives, just under £200,000 for public open space and public realm improvements, just under £50,000 for local sustainable transport projects, just over £30,000 for local idea stores, archives and libraries, and there's also a strategy for the relocation of existing businesses within the Exchange building and a commitment to undertake local public realm and highway works along with a commitment to submit and monitor a travel plan for the site. This takes us on to our recommendation, having considered the key issues. And our recommendation, as set out within the hearing report, is that the Mayor agrees with that recommendation in the hearing report and grants planning permission and conservation area consent for the application at the London Fruit and Wool Exchange site, subject to the conditions and reasons set out within the appended draft decision notices and subject to the prior completion of a Section 1 legal agreement. Thank you, Mayor. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you very much, Graham. We now go on immediately, therefore, to Tower Hamlets Council representation. I don't know who is speaking on behalf of Tower Hamlets. I think there's a maximum of 5 minutes for Tower Hamlets. And I'd be very grateful if you could possibly introduce yourselves to the hearing. Thank you.
My name is Councillor Carlo Gibbs. I'm one of the Strategic Development Committee members of Tower Hamlets Council.
And my name is Pete Smith. I'm the Development Manager at Tower Hamlets. Good evening.
Thank you.
The Council's resolution to refuse planning permission and conservation area consent are well grounded in policy, are robust, sustainable and defendable on appeal. As such, the London Mayor should afford significant weight to this resolution. In accordance with our core strategy and associated LDF documents, the Council would expect larger floor plate offices to be located within designated preferred office locations. The exclusion of areas to the east of Bishopsgate, including this site, recognises the character of the immediate neighbourhood, especially the finer grain of buildings and mix of residential and business uses that characterise this part of the city fringe, interwoven with patterns of historic and new development that recognise variety and individuality. This mix has made Spitalfields a vibrant, well-loved and successful place with a significant concentration of heritage assets, valued by visitors and those who live and work in the area. It's important that a development scenario for the Fruit and Wool Exchange recognises and responds to this sensitive and distinctive character. Whilst the Council has no objection to the principle of an office-led redevelopment per se, a greater variety and mix of uses, including on-site housing, would provide a more vibrant and sustainable approach and would also recognise and embrace the characteristics of the conservation area and listed building context. As raised in the Mayor's previous Stage 1 letter, the London Plan requires a mix of uses, including housing, to be included as part of strategic office development in this location. The Council does not agree with the applicant's contention that with good design, some housing could not form part of the scheme. Residential conversion of the upper floors of the public house, for example, would provide a viable use for this heritage asset, which would not overly compromise the applicant's objective for a predominant large floor plate office scheme or the delivery of employment and other economic benefits. Notwithstanding this, Mayor, should you decide to grant planning permission on the basis of your officer's report, the Council would support the provision of an in-lieu affordable housing contribution, subject to flexibility in terms of allocation of the contribution towards a range of affordable housing products. The Brick Lane and Fernier Street conservation area was extended to specifically include the Exchange block, which includes the Gun Public House and Barclays Bank. The Exchange has important historic links with Spitalfields Market, and its architectural quality proclaims its status as an important public building. The Gun and the Bank building are essential elements of the overall block and are of similar quality. The Gun complements the Exchange but has distinct personality. The handsome Bank building successfully combines Portland stone, which is the characteristics of city banks, with the red brick of the listed market opposite. The buildings work well together to create a strong and memorable sense of place. The Exchange block is an important element of the setting of many listed buildings, including Christchurch. The journey east along Brushfield Street is an inspiring introduction to the historic East End. The Gun Public House provides a successful transition between the symmetrical Brushfield Street elevation of the Exchange and the picturesque group of buildings situated on the west of Crispin Street, which includes the listed 52 Brushfield Street. Efforts to break down the mass of the proposed development, the use of careful architectural detailing and varying facade treatments do not, in the Council's view, conceal the essential fact that this is a large floor plate, super block office development completely out of scale with its historic city fringe and Spitalfields context.